Happy Memorial Day weekend eve, Draft Crafters. It's Dan, it's JP. It is also still Craft Beer Week, which I am pouring one, even if you are just sticking to your guns and rocking the big bottle.
I felt like it was shameful to come to a Craft Beer Week episode with something that's not new and something we've kind of already talked about, and it's like, man, I was a little short on time, so I didn't make a couple stops looking for new stuff, but I did make a stop for the, but there was just nothing there. I was like, you know what? Craft Beer Week and Craft Bourbon Week. I mean,
hey, look,
it's okay.
All I know is, yes, there's National Craft Beer Week, which is what it is from the 16th to the 22nd. So technically tomorrow's the last day for anybody, or today if you're listening to it on Friday.
So I'll find some tomorrow.
Exactly. However, the Craft Beer Week and Bourbon Week is coming up over the summer. So don't worry. When we hit there in summertime, you can join in on that as well. I do have a craft beer. It is a new one, which we'll talk about at the halfway mark. I've also got my USA Kitty shirt on right now because, hey, Memorial Day weekend, I tell people, it's like, look, you can disagree with politicians and wars and things like that, but appreciate the people who have served and put their time in to help out here. They don't usually get to choose where they're going. I guarantee you most people over the last 25 years would not say, I want to go hang out in a desert. I'm just saying.
I'm not doing that.
No. If there's like an island or there's a glacier, I'll go help liberate a glacier.
We'd be the only two there.
Potentially. That's why we win. But yeah, all right, but that's my point. And again, fun shirts. It's a cat. I found this for $5 at a resale store. I sent a picture to one of my friends. They're like, you have to get that. I was like, I know I did. Exactly. It's silly. It's dumb. And I wouldn't have paid more than $5 for it because it's also got a cat on it. And we've talked about that. But, it's pretty spectacular. And you got yourself some tie-dye. So that right there just says Americana, if anything.
We got some bright shirts today.
We are embracing. This is as close as you'll get us to embracing the warmth of summertime.
Yeah. I like tie-dye.
Because otherwise we're just sweating our butts through. Yeah. We are also embracing something today that other people do every year that we sort of reluctantly do every year, and we definitely are doing at the wrong time of the year right now.
Oh, we learned that as soon as we started to try to do this. I was like, dude, this is not going to work.
Now, it's not going to work, but you know what? We made it work because that's what we do here. Now, everybody, we always talk about this, 3 years. That is your timetable for noting a draft class, even though we do instant reactions to draft classes like we just did for the NFL draft that just got done. And everybody always does a how did the rookies do thing, a redraft, if you will, which we know is a futile thing anyways, because all you're trying to do is just retcon a season that just got done, and who knows where these guys are going to end up after next year. However, usually people do this right after the end of the season. We forgot to do that or chose not to do it or whatever, and sort of left it after not just the season and free agency, but also the draft. And so we were debating this, like, how do you do this? Do you put it, like, try to rewind back to before free agency and the draft?
Hard.
That would have been a mess. Yeah. Do you just like pull guys? So we ended up going with, what if it was today, Thursday, May 21? All of a sudden, the 2025
your
draft
roster's
is happening
the same,
again.
minus whoever.
Now. Right.
Yeah. So you even get to keep the current draft class. You just have to redo the 2025 draft class.
Exactly.
But you know what's crazy? In this moment, Dan, you know what? It just hit me now. It had never occurred to me.
Uh-oh.
Not only would it have been much easier, but it also might be much more intelligent. And it also might be what we should do moving forward.
Uh-oh, what are you thinking?
3 pieces on this. So I was going to explain that essentially this is super dumb because you can't redraft it. You know what I mean?
Right.
The only point and the only value of this show is to just talk about the players who had good rookie years.
Pretty much.
If they did what they were supposed to do, if they overdid it, blah, blah, blah. So wouldn't it make more sense instead of doing a redraft and torturing ourselves to what we did already? So we're set.
Right, we're doing
but
this.
Wouldn't it have been better just to do a big board?
Yeah, probably.
If we just said, hey, if we went back, what would be your top 32 now versus the top 32 before?
And that was one of the things I was going to mention. Yeah, that would have been way easier because what we did was we tried to factor in what we would have done with these teams. So, for example, a little spoiler alert for you, one quarterback went in the first round. If you look at anyone else's list.
No, I didn't know that made sense really either.
Right, exactly.
And the worst pick that I made is my first pick. So,
sure. You did it twice.
Yep.
I hate it twice. Well, and that's because Tennessee, if we are not having him take Cam Ward, which we're not, because while he had an okay rookie season, Tennessee was in no way, shape, or form ready for a quarterback last year.
Mm-mm.
And again, they didn't have one this year. So we are envisioning a bizarro 2026 in the fall where Will Levis is still the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans.
Or Trubisky or somebody.
Because they are putting on a hard tank for the quarterbacks this year, which if you and I would have been running Tennessee is probably what would have actually happened. We would have been projecting for 2027 as it is and just dropping a quarterback into a throw and go situation. But that's why we're doing what we're doing on a show and not running a team. What did Tennessee end up doing?
Dude, like you said, I was all over the place with this one. So here's the thing. A, I was never high on Ward as a prospect.
Sure.
B, he did not impress me at all during his rookie year, despite it might not be all his fault because the team's not all that great.
Right.
So he was out, right? Mm-hmm. So then I'm thinking,
had an okay year.
The way I would rebuild the team is in the trenches. This team's got to rebuild, right? Well,
sure.
I also am, in theory, inheriting a team that just put a lot of money into some offensive linemen, despite me not liking them. Now, would I... Do I see what comes to fruition of that investment, or do I just, admit already that it was dumb?
Mm-hmm.
So while in theory, I would have loved to have been like, yeah, Dan Moore's not the guy, and go grab a Membu or a Banks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I also had so the offensive line's out. So then do I go D-line trench? Well, the interior D-line, nobody's worthy of this. Abdul Carter, maybe.
Sure.
He had a small sample size because he wasn't a full-time guy because they have the deepest edge rushing room in the whole league in New York there. So initially I was like, to hell with it. I'm just going to take Jeanty because he was the number one player on my board, and I think that the Raiders were the reason that he looked bad.
Oh, yeah. 80% of his yards, I think, came after contact. That dude was getting hit in the backfield all the time.
And then I realized that even if Jeanty did play like great and whatnot, and the Raiders could support a running back at that time, I still where they're at, they're just not not in a position to take a running back either. It's like, nope, we got to go back, we got to hit redo. So I went ahead and went Abdul Carter. So at least I went with a premier position to build a team. I know it was a small sample size. I mean, he still had decent sacks and pressures based on the amount of snaps he played. So if you prorate that over the season, you'd probably feel a hell of a lot better about it. But Abdul Carter, can't believe it. He's the number one pick. I did not think there was any shot of that.
We also want to point out, we don't necessarily think he had the best rookie season. But given the team, given the needs, given how we're doing this redraft, and given the bonkers world we ended up in, it makes sense for them to do this. Unless you were going to go tackle because, you paid Dan Moore $20 million a year to have a legitimately average season. That's a lot of money for average.
Yep. So I'm on a 4-pick run here. Jacksonville. You know what?
We are keeping the trades that happened in the first round. We're not going way back. Let's not get that weird.
Jacksonville, we had a handful of picks that, ironically, we stayed the same with. This was the first one of mine. It might have been I think I only did it 4 times. I stayed with Travis Hunter because cornerback is still a need for them today.
Right.
And wide receivers kind of still a need for them today. Yeah, he got hurt, but it's nothing like crazy or career threatening.
Right.
And it's still, I don't care who you are, you're only 1 year into his career. Yeah, it wasn't what you expected, but you saw a lot of flashes from him, and he did something in college that nobody has ever done.
True.
So I still stand by it.
Not since the 50s. And not the level he did.
It wasn't to that level. Yeah. Right. So I still stand by it. I would still make that pick.
Well, I agree with you because I really want my fantasy season to go better this year.
Well, that's true too. So then the Giants are up here, right? And they can't take Abdul Carter because he went number 1.
Nope.
But I still kind of sort of view offensive tackle as a need for them because I think that you can leave Maui Noah, who, because the way we did this, reminder, 2026 rookies are still there. We're just redoing the 2025 because we messed this whole thing up. I still think you could have an offensive tackle in here. And I don't know, like if I redid, like in theory, I would have given Membu to Tennessee. If I just said to hell with it, I'm chalking that up as an L. Because I would take Membu over Moore all day.
Oh, yeah. I think Tennessee would too.
Membu was a slam dunk pick here, in my opinion, to me.
Yeah, and it gets Elomanor out of the starting lineup, which is he's probably my second favorite tackle to talk about getting out of the starting lineup. And I'll save the starting tackle for those of you who can't remember from the last show until a little later on. New England,
this is awesome because I wasn't high on Will Campbell. People still praise him, even grade him out for doing very well as a rookie. I just didn't see it.
He had some moments.
Like I saw, he was basically what I expected as a rookie and a developmental tackle that's still going to take another year or so. And yeah, he could develop into a great starting tackle. Nothing elite, but a very good one. You know what I mean? Maybe he ends up elite. Who knows? But
he was above average this year.
I still don't see it. I don't think he was above average. I don't even think he was average. I think he played below average. I watched every game.
Sure. PFF grades, he was graded out above average. However, his last 3 games, he had a 45, a 50, and a 38 in the Super Bowl. So the opposite, I think, of Gray Zabel when you talk about how your season ended. He ended on the worst streak, I think, of just about any lineman last year.
Yeah. Don't you want your season, the trajectory to go this way?
You usually do. You usually do, especially, when you're playing in the Super Bowl. Just throwing that out.
So, with all that being said, as much as I would have loved Membo to be there, because that's what I wanted them to get on draft day, if they didn't go Membo on draft day, I wanted Banks. And, guess what? Membo and Banks looked 100% better than Will Campbell. Just saying. So, thankfully, for this one little 50-minute episode, Banks gets to be a Patriot. Yeah.
There you go. He would slot right in for them. There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
Cleveland is the second team that stayed with the player that they picked, which is kind of humorous that the trade that Jacksonville and Cleveland did last year ended up being the same thing, where the teams just stayed with who they had. Mason Graham, while he had a little bit of a slow start to the year, by the end of the season was really producing well. And when you look at what he did, even from a pass rush standpoint from the inside, he put up numbers that were comparable to some of the edge guys when you look at the win rate that he had. And so that is very encouraging for them for the future. And again, let's not forget, they picked up Graham and the picks by moving back from 2, which is looking brilliant for them right now because of the injury to Hunter, which hopefully, again, he doesn't have again this year. But it was a great fit, great pick for Cleveland. What's Vegas up to?
This was probably the funniest damn pick that I think I made. Seriously, because on draft day back in 2025, let's go back there, right? While I wanted Ginty to be a Raider because I like the Raiders a lot and I love Ginty.
Sure.
I also know that if I'm the GM, I was not making that pick because we were not ready for a running back. Crazy thing is, current state, we're a lot more ready for a running back.
They are.
Because you got the healthy tackles. You brought in Tyler Linderbaum. Bowers is
huge
healthy.
Piece.
You've got a quarterback for the future in Mendoza. You got a veteran quarterback there. I was like, dude, Ginty makes infinitely more sense today than he did a year ago, which maybe that was their plan and they were, predicting. But so I can't argue against it. Plus, he still gets to go to the team that I wanted him to go to.
Right.
That's funny. It didn't make sense on draft day, and now it does, and it's crazy.
No, that's one of those things. Looking back on it, like if you're trying to go galaxy brain like that as a GM, I think I would have leaned on my coaching staff to not give GT too many carries last year, knowing that he was going to get the crap kicked out of him. Because now you're just putting wear and tear on a guy that has a short career, anyways. But yeah, it's funny that it makes way more sense to do that now than before. The Jets,
are just the most enjoyable pick.
The Jets are pissed because they had on the Mem movement. I think it's funny too. The Mem movement is who they grabbed. They grabbed Amar Membu, which really sorted them out and really helped out their offensive line, as they are kind of a team that feels like a quarterback away right now. We've mentioned that. But in this case, they don't get Membu. They don't get Banks. But they still need a tackle because they still need help on their line. So who's the next tackle? Well, this is where Will Campbell ended up, which annoyingly for us, right? Because again, you and I aren't huge fans.
Only for
just the fact
minutes.
That he still made the top 10, right? When either of us wouldn't have taken him probably in the top 20 of the draft last year. And yet somehow he still made the top 10 because, to his credit, until those last 3 games, he was playing a legitimately above average analytical season. I'm not going to say he looked better than average, but he's playing an above average analytical season, and then the bottom fell out. So we'll see. Yeah, nice. I like changing colors on our spreadsheet. Then the bottom fell out.
Did you see
why?
We're
going to see.
I was trying to sneak it.
Why.
I was trying to sneak it, so we drafted Campbell twice.
How did we draft Campbell twice? I blame you, because that's your team. That's going to throw everything off, dude. We're gonna be doing some shifting on the fly here, baby. That should be entertaining. Yeah. We'll come back to that. That's really funny. I blame you. You're the one controlling the spreadsheet for a change. But at any rate, Campbell makes sense for the Jets because they do need a piece there on their offensive line. Even with who they have in the roster right now, there's no like swing tackle that can just slide up into the spot that Membu is taking right now. That being said, Carolina's up next, and this pick was pretty simple.
Oh wow, I didn't highlight this one the same. We had more of the same than I thought because I didn't do my little cheat. The little neutral yellow there. Yeah, Carolina's easy, man. Current world, if they didn't have Tet McMillan, that's still their biggest need. Because and this is coming from a guy who likes the wide receiver room only because like Coker and those guys are nice complimentary. But Tet's the feature. He's the main course meal here. Like it's a weird analogy, but like that's he's the guy. He's the one that I think truly helped the most of righting the ship for giving Young somebody to work with.
Well, right. And again, every quarterback can use a guy that he knows if he throws the ball over there, there's a better than 50% chance the dude's coming down with it. And now he's got Tet, and now he's got Braswell stretching the field. Like, he's in good shape. There's a reason why he stayed there. And some people will say McMillan had the best rookie season offensively. Depending on how you want to break things down, he's right up in that conversation. So if we were doing a big board, he's higher than 8, most likely. It's just kind of how things broke down for this draft.
Yeah, big board. He might be top 6 in this draft.
Oh, he's definitely top 6. So we'll cross that bridge later. New Orleans is up next though, and this is a team that obviously can't take Kelvin Banks. They'd be on tackle 4 right now, and I just don't know that the value is there. It's you looking back and retconning this now. I mean, that definitely is one of those things that you can look back and say, how would this have affected the franchise? Because again, they're a team right now that looks like they have 2 solid tackles, looking forward, and there's really nobody else on this roster that's ready to step into that spot. But there also wasn't another tackle that felt like they outplayed their position at the same level that Colson Loveland is looking like an absolute G over there in
he's
Chicago.
Top 6 too.
Right. And so he ends up going here to New Orleans because they need weapons, even with who they have right now, even with having Tyson and Olave. There's a good world where Colson Loveland would be your number 1 receiver because the other 2 are injured. So it's a good pickup for New Orleans to have him here. And you loved that pick as well because it meant that Chicago had to scramble because they couldn't take Colson Loveland.
Yeah, they still got a super stud. At least this is not a Michigan super stud.
No, we pivoted very easily for the Bears. They just said, screw it, fine, we'll take Tyler Warren, which was the joke we had going throughout all of the run-up to the draft last year for the 2025 draft was the Bears are taking one of the 2 of them. It just depends on who's going to be there. We weren't sure if either of them would be there, technically at 10, but whoever was going to be there, the Bears would take. They took Loveland in real life. They get Warren in this world, and it definitely is a good fit for them, but also a different fit. I honestly think that Ben Johnson would probably have more fun with Warren, whereas Loveland's just a more pure receiver kind of a guy. So as we're seeing that with how Indy's been using him. So we'll get to them in a second. San Francisco, who took Will Campbell, but not really.
Yeah, they took Will Campbell. They faked everybody out.
We both whiffed on that.
Yep.
I love that.
Super
That's
did. Great. So it's funny. You made the argument, and actually I don't hate this at all. You made the argument that New Orleans couldn't take an offensive tackle 4, which I totally agree with. And now we're only 2 picks away, but I must say Loveland and Warren are they're like They'd be top 6. That'd be a fun way to end the show. How many of your top 6 on your board from last year stayed the same? Would stay in the top 6?
Oh,
so we'll see. I'd have to go back and look at that. Mm-hmm. But so now I don't think while it might have been a reach at 9, surprisingly at 11, I don't know that this is a reach, even though I did shift it up because we double drafted Campbell. I put Simmons here, offensive tackle. Right?
Yeah, and he's man. Here's an interesting situation.
When he played, he looked very, very, very good. You're a little nervous with the injury, but he looked very good.
This is a guy who got injured in college, too. So the injury history thing gives you a little bit of pause. He was not good in the run. He was great against the pass, all things considered. So there's areas to be concerned about. But that also, by the way, is kind of this rookie class. I would say that maybe half of the guys we're talking about today, maybe 20 tops, are feeling like just guys who are on the right trajectory to stardom, right? It feels like the 2025 and the 2026 draft, both of those drafts didn't feel like the crazy high-end talent that we're expecting for next year.
I totally agree with that. I already feel, we'll see who returns to college, because a lot of these guys that I feel really good about could return. They could return.
Admittedly.
So
that was a piece of why 2026 wasn't as good, is because I'd say a good 15% of the talent we thought was going to, at least that we thought was going to come out, didn't. Which fair, because they got paid to stay.
So now I'm out of 12 with Dallas here, and I must admit, while I was super, super tempted, and you can say it, I wouldn't hate it if you wanted him to stay with Booker because he's available. That ended up being a much better pick than I gave him credit for. So I'll take the L on that one. And you could have easily kept it there. But I'm sorry, the guy that I gave him fits a huge need as well, even with their current roster, and I'll explain that. But this is a guy, if I didn't go Ginty to the Raiders, I 100% would have gone Nick Manowari.
Yeah. Well, and again, when we first played this out, when you had Ginty going to Tennessee, you did have a Manowari.
That's who I had there. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's who I had there.
Sure. And Dallas
he's
now
top 6. He's top 6 guy for me in this. But, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Here's the thing, because, dude, Downs can play your nickel because he's that athletic.
Sure.
He could, yeah. And I'm just saying,
it would be crazy to have those two in the same defensive backfield.
They got some aging safeties.
Absolutely
exactly.
Nuts.
If
Absolutely
you can see a Manowari and Downs together, and imagine how nuts it would have been to have Branch and Manowari and Cooper DeJean and Kyle Hamilton.
Just because
I would have had the best defensive backfield ever
for 1 year until you couldn't pay everybody. But yeah, it would have been a heck of a year. There's no doubt about that. What'd the Fish get up to? Because they're not taking
the Fish
Grant.
Said,
I'm sorry.
They are not taking Kenneth Grant, and I think he doesn't deserve to go in the first round. I don't think in a redraft, but he played better than what people give him credit for. He just didn't play as good as the 13th overall pick. Is the problem?
Not. He graded out, by the way, just so you know. Kenneth Grant graded out at a 48.4. But I know you don't always necessarily put a ton on the grades, and a lot of that's because his run defense score was bad. And again, when you talk about scores on analytics, that's a whole world in and of itself. He still grabbed a few sacks. He certainly has potential going forward, but yeah, there's no way he's the 13th pick with the way things have shaped out for him.
So the Fish, super stoked here. Again, this is a rebuild team, so I wanted to go inside out. We depleted the tackles. Didn't feel super great about the edge rushers, but it wasn't awful. But ultimately, I was just like, nah, Booker is a nice, safe, just interior lineman that looks like can be a future. Like, I can plug him somewhere on the interior line and not worry at all.
As much as you and I liked Jonah Savainia, he could easily take his spot without a problem because Jonah had a rough first season. Needless to say, he's not going to get picked in this first round redraft. There's no doubt about that. Indianapolis, again, wasn't able to take the man they had, Warren, who was just like the worst kept secret from a mock ever, I feel like, how everybody was putting him at that spot at 14. So instead, they were looking at their roster. Yes, if there was another tight end, I would go that route just because that's a spot that if you don't have him, then who are you grabbing? But since there isn't really anybody else that we wanted to put quite this high, and when you look at some of the spots they have in their backfield, look, Cameron Bynum is a journeyman at best. I'm sorry, he just is. Now, points to him because he's managed to stay in the league for a decade, and that's twice as long as most guys usually make it. However, you had a guy Like Xavier Watts hanging out here, who you freaking loved last year. Couldn't believe he lasted to the third round.
I don't know. What was it? What was it? Why didn't you?
I can't remember.
I don't know. Is it just because he was older? Because he's 24?
I thought he was all right. I didn't think he
23,
was
24.
I wasn't like hating on him, but you really liked him, and I thought he was okay. You're right so far, unless something goes different.
Yeah, I was wrong on Booker, so I'll take something else.
Well, Indianapolis would love to have Watts because now you compare Watts in the defensive backfield with A.J. Halsey, who they just picked up, and all of a sudden, safety goes from a question mark to a slam dunk strength for that team. Atlanta, dude, they stay the same. I mean, Travon Walker not Travon Walker, sorry.
Travon.
Travon Walker was not amazing, but he was
We just can't get that Walker out of our head because of how awesome Jacksonville totally gave us an assist in that draft.
Jalen Walker, for a guy who was a bit undersized, had a pretty good year for what they asked him to do. Again, he's playing the outside edge, 6 sacks, ended up with 10 in the poop ratio as far as the number of 10, not at 10%. So definitely has a lot of growth still to go with that. Kind of played about half the season when you look at the half the number of snaps. Had a surprisingly good run grade, but again, still an undersized guy. Interesting to see how that all plays out.
He worked well for them, though, man.
He did, and he fit their system.
That's another one I was wrong.
Not bad.
On.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't say like wrong.
Questioning.
He was a guy. He's one of those ones where it's like if he goes to the right system, then okay.
Sure.
But I don't. Look, I can't rank him high because somebody could draft him and use him the wrong way. It just
right. Well, and to this point. Yeah, but to this point, this past year was about the first time that Atlanta had anything positive to say about their edge rushers in darn near a decade. So, and he's a part of the reason for that. So it worked out.
Think about how, because Atlanta got Watts too. So they had Walker, Watts, and Pierce.
Well, yeah, and if you notice, we haven't said Chase Pierce's name yet. We'll get to that later.
We might. We
might bring it up at some point. But Arizona's up next, and while they could certainly use an edge rusher, look, Walter Nolan is who they took, right? Good D lineman when he was healthy, which wasn't much of the season. Could stick with him, but because the injury, because we're not sure from a track record standpoint.
Yeah, you're not projecting this out. You're going based on what we know
right
now.
What we know from this past season, not enough to work with, right? Donovan Zaraku, on the other hand, while he may not have had the some of the gaudy stats some of the other guys had as far as the actual counting numbers, he was very effective for Dallas, and Dallas probably could have still taken him had Manowari and some of the guys not been there, right? And again, he ends up going here. Izaraku, a guy that you had in the first round anyways, ends up in the first round in this draft and would really help out an Arizona team that has Josh Sweat, who is, by the way, holding out right now. I'll say you that today. As of May 21, he's not in the OTAs. It seems like there's a few guys who are a little unhappy with their contract situation with the new coaching staff coming in, which, cool, just makes things interesting. But Izaraku would definitely help lessen the blow of a guy like that. Look, is Sweat holding out if Izaraku is on the team? I don't know. Right now, he has leverage because he is their only proven in air quotes, edge rusher that they have in Arizona. This would have given them a different option. Before we get to the second half, what are you sipping?
Sir, and I chose it mostly just because the bottle's kind of at the kill point. Not a ton in there.
Sure.
But it is.
Wyoming.
A little Wyoming whiskey. This is the Buffalo Bill Cody.
Sure.
Low proofer.
Low.
So I figured it'd be a nice little easy. Well, it's only 48%, so it's 96% proof.
Sure.
I mean, that's low to me.
Well, it is low, but it's low for you. But it is about normal for a non-crazy whiskey drinkers and proof snobs like you. That's about a normal whiskey. Is right around that 45 to 50 range.
So here's what I'll say. It's aged 6 years. Okay.
Nice.
It's not overly complex by any means. A little tougher to do, surprisingly, when it's a low proof one.
Sure.
Usually the higher proof ones are the ones that are more of a ride where you pick up, which is crazy when you think about it, because that means more of whatever you're sipping is just alcohol and less of the rest. But it is what it is. But if you also think about it, the higher the alcohol, maybe the more it pulls out of the wood and everything else you're doing. So that's a whole different chemistry show.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But for a 6 year bottle, and I can't remember what it costs. I can't.
Okay.
So I can't tell you about the value of it. Mm-hmm. But I know you're going to Google it anyway.
Yeah.
But make sure you say the Buffalo Bill Cody, the 6-year. But I'll tell you this: it is not complex. It's kind of one note forward, and that note is cinnamon, and then the rest is like the oaky caramel stuff. But the cinnamon is the powerful one. It is easy sipping and very pleasant, just not super complex. So price depending. Before you tell me, all I would say is I would happily pay, I don't know, 45-ish, $50 for this, and
about that.
Yeah. Why? What is it? What's MSRP?
Clocking in it's clocking in. I'm looking at like Total Wine, stuff like that right now. They got it sitting at 80, but I'll see if there's a different MSRP on there that I can find. $80 is the suggested retail for that bad boy.
Really? Okay, so I would not do it for that. Right. I would not do it for that.
And that's where it makes it interesting.
Also, most things Wyoming whiskey are little high. I don't know if it's just because they're small distillery still, small craft distillery. It's all grain to glass. So it's all, made right there. And
points to them for that.
Maybe until they start making bigger batches, the prices will come down. You know what I mean?
That's always the challenge, is trying to find those right price points to get people to pay for it. So this is a different storyline. This is from the beer that I'm having, because it is, by the way, Craft Beer Week. It's from Prairie Artesian Ales. And it is the double rainbow sherbet. So not only is this a sour, sir, this is an Imperial sour. So this is an 8% sour. And the first sip hit you hard with the sour. So for those of you who've had the rainbow sherbet, which is their basic one, I think it's like a 5-6%, whatever. This is, as you can tell, it's definitely a darker color. It's got a little more amber going on with it. So it definitely has more of that Imperial vibe. Now, the thing, usually when you associate Imperial, you're associating like a sweetness to it, right? Or just a stronger flavor. This is still pretty well balanced. Like it's definitely a sour, so you would hate it. But anyone who likes a sour, this is a strong sour, right? Because it's an 8%er, which is not usually the category you get into with these beers. If you like sours, grab yourself a heavy sour on occasion and see how you like it. Because sours are meant to be refreshing. This one is got that refreshing quality, meant for most people, not you. But this has got that refreshing quality to it, while also giving you a little bit more depth, a little more almost like thickness to the flavor, if you will. It's not like it's a thick beer. It's not a milkshake or anything, but there's a more round flavor going on with it than just the quick cut of sour and then you're done. So points to them for trying something different. I would say I like this better than the regular rainbow sherbet because it is a little bit more complex and it's a little.
I don't think I've had either one.
I don't know. You might have had the rainbow sherbet because it's a pretty standard Prairie. I'll have to take a peek. But this one, I know you haven't had this particular one. But the fact that they are branching out into some more fun stuff, and it is full on sour season by now, sir. I know you do not partake, but we are into May. You could say Memorial Day is kind of the unofficial start of summertime for a lot of people. So yeah, see, so I probably made you try.
What do you think I gave it?
You gave it like a 1.
It's a higher than I thought.
No, it's probably 2.5.
I gave it a 2.75.
It's 2.75 because it's a very good beer, but it's also a sour, so it's never going to get above like a 3 for you, pretty much.
That's pretty tough,
and that's what makes life interesting, right? But yeah, so good work, Prairie, as usual.
I think the only ones would have been the peanut butter whatever sour that Prairie did.
All right, that one's
and then the blackberry ones from Zool. Those are probably the only ones that have been 3.
Fair. Yeah. I would say that I've yet to have a bad Prairie beer. I think we've said this. Like, even the worst Prairie beer has been average.
Yeah. Yep.
And now, don't get me wrong. Like we said before, too, you pay for it. Like, these are $5 beers for the sours and then $15 for the stouts. So you're paying for it, but at least you're paying for something that is, at worst, average. Which, is better than what the Titans can say for Dan Moore.
Eesh.
Singa! Okay, second half of the draft. Let's go. Cincinnati.
They did not take Shamar Stewart. You will not hear his name. Just going to throw that one out there. Called that on draft day. Big mistakes were made. But
dude, real quick on Shamar Stewart. For edge rushers that had at least 20% of the snaps, guess where he rated out of the 17 edge rushers?
Dead last.
17th. Without a doubt.
How many?
Out of 17.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Dead last.
Yes. Terrible.
1 sack.
Just terrible in college. Remember when
181.
was trying to argue with us against that, where he was on the Stewart thing, like thinking it'd be a good pick for Detroit too. Yeah, super
181 pass rushing snaps. 181 pass rushing snaps. 1 sack and 2 hits. So 3 out of 181. Real quick.
Not great.
Go ahead. Talk about the actual pick, but I'm going to do the poop ratio there because it's so
it's
funny how small it's
0.0 something.
3 divided by 181. It is 0.016. 1.6% of the time he was on the field.
I was going to say 0.09. I thought it was even worse. But
twice what you thought then. Still, not good. Not good. So, what does Cincinnati do instead?
Since he went in the defensive backfield here,
they needed help with.
Score,
no doubt.
For a minute, Scorton crossed my mind, but I was just like, there's no world where I can take Scorton above Starks, man. I went safety. I just think Starks would have been great back here. We talked about if they didn't trade the 10th pick this year, their dream pick would have been Caleb Downs.
Sure.
But they traded it, got D-line. Why not go on the back end of this defense? Because they still have the 2 young linebackers there, despite me not being huge on either of them. You've already invested in them. So let's see what happens. And now you're just putting talent in all 3 levels. I like it. Malachi Starks, Bengal.
Well, when you look at Cincinnati, when you look at Cincinnati, just to wrap that up, remember, Shamar Stewart's not starting this year. So it's not like you're losing out on a starter moving on from him. So this is a huge plus for Cincinnati. That'd be another.
Yeah, their starting lineup improved by
exactly
a lot,
which is not a ringing endorsement of Shamar Stewart.
Nope.
We thought. All right. Next 2 though are guys who stay put. A little spoiler alert there. 18, Seattle. They took Gray Zabel again. You could have gone Tate Ratledge, could have gone Dylan Fairchild, somebody like that. But because of the way Zabel finished the season, again, like I said, the opposite of Will Campbell, he had a really strong finish for Seattle. Obviously was one of the pieces that helped them win the Super Bowl and slots right into that offense and will continue to be an improving piece as far as they're looking. And again, I still think there's potential versatility for him going forward where he could slide into center at some point if you need him to. But he is still a good piece for this offensive line. They're in good shape. And again, we expect Bo Stevens, the guy they took this year, to be taking over one of those positions in the offensive line. So you got a young, fun offensive interior right now.
Tampa, as you said, same thing. This was a super easy pick.
Right.
I'm going to be honest with you. When we're doing this, I don't. Do you think we forgot to take him?
Maybe.
Or what? Because he is
he
100%. But yes.
I will say this, because he's at 19 on this list. He would be probably top 10 on the actual big board without too much trouble. He was very consistent. Agree. He was humorously enough kind of what I thought he would be, which was a solidly consistent contributor. It just came in a much different package than I thought because he had to step up so quick to begin the season.
Yeah, he's a hell of a player. That's an easy pick for Tampa. So we'll just slide right over into Denver.
Yeah, reminder, by the way, for anyone who didn't remember, Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah. Oh, I thought I said
say his name.
Maybe I did not.
63 catches, almost 1,000 yards. I mean, he sort of slid into his role as the season went on, and he was very productive.
But he would have eclipsed 1,000 with ease if they weren't still. I know that Evans missed a lot of time, but they also of course Evans is going to play above Egbuka. So is Godwin. Yeah. So it was. A lot of his playing time only came because of injuries, but like you said, he stepped up in a huge way, and a big enough way to where they can move on from Evans. And
I expect him. He should have a grand this year if he doesn't get hurt.
Yes, he will. I totally agree. But anyhow, Denver, they are not taking Jahdae Barron again. I was super high on him. He was a guy that appears that I was wrong about.
He was serviceable, but he wasn't good enough to be taken in the first round.
Well, you say he was all right. He just didn't impress me, so I went with a completely different direction. I went with a more current need. I do like Alex Singleton quite a bit. He's also 32, if I remember correctly.
Right.
So, and even then, you need 2 linebackers. And
when you think about it,
that I feel good.
The 2027 the 2027 too early draft we just did, I think we gave him a linebacker, so it's clearly not a position in need.
Yeah, I gave him Jacob Rodriguez a couple times, but
right, that too.
And they didn't take him. So here we are, Carson Schlesinger, another guy that I didn't think would go this late. I thought he could go earlier than this too, and I was super high on him. So I love
another guy who's probably top 6 overall.
Ooh,
but again, linebackers just don't get valued as much. He's probably top 6 in mine. Dude won the defensive rookie of the year.
I know. We're going to end the show with that. He's got a shot. All right. We'll see. I just feel like our top 6 is getting pretty packed. It's more like a top 9.
Well, that's part of the fun, right?
But all right, Pittsburgh here. And this hurt because I love my boy Derek Harmon. I know, he had some reasons why he wasn't playing the whole season. We saw him a little bit. I just didn't see enough to still, give him consideration here. Right. So I went with a different direction, dude. Sorry, Dan, but Johnson did not, and I mean did not seem to work out as the running back.
Swing and a miss.
That's for your fantasy team. Take a little,
taking a lot of. Like I am like the guy who's hitting 200 and hoping to get a home run. I mean, like all it is home runs or strikeouts right now. My team, I think, has a single. Yeah, pretty much. It's not good, but I'm not getting the donkey punches like he did.
Oh man, so I went a different direction, dude. I don't care. I like Warren, but I just don't think he's a feature back. He's a great number 2 back. So, dude, Amari and Hampton.
When he was healthy. Yeah.
Why not? So, because he looked great when he was healthy. So, that was an easy pick for me, surprisingly.
Sure.
What do you got for the Chargers now that they're pissed off at me?
The Chargers, it took me a minute, right? Because when we talked about their roster this year, obviously running back is clearly a need if you don't have Hampton. But at the same time, is there anybody worth taking? No, Vidal did all right.
Let me drop a little bit of hint, see if people, if they're listening to this live, can figure it out.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
How funny is it that the player that the Chargers took was a second-round pick for a team whose first-round pick doesn't even go in the top 32. Now I can see the wheels turning for people.
Yeah.
And who, a further hint, who on this podcast, I think maybe even both of us, so that either answer would be right, said, wow, their second-round pick was infinitely better than the first, and if you flipped those, it was a little more tolerable. Still not what I would have done, but all right, go ahead.
But this is a guy who deserved to go in the first round, even though he was dogged by some people here and there saying he had a rough first year. If you look at the numbers, he had one of the better years in the interior of the offensive line because, again, the Chargers still need help in there. Even though they picked up a little bit this year with Slaughter, they still need more because you're right now hinging your hope on either Trevor Penning or you're hoping.
Your neighbors are having so much fun.
They are. Yeah, tell you what, I'm not sure if anybody's hearing the yelling in the background. There's some kids that live next door and they use half of the backyard here for volleyball, and they are getting into it. And we applaud that because kids need to go run around outside.
Sports
and have
podcast.
Fun. Exactly. But yeah, with Jake Slaughter, the Brennan Biadish, and then Cole Strange though is the guy you're relying on right now to be a guard, or you could have the dirt bag. You could have Tate Ratledge.
You even said it. I love it.
You could have Tater Tot. You could have a man who Detroit is expecting to be a fixture on their offensive line for the next decade.
He will
and
be.
I guarantee you he would fit Jim Harbaugh and the culture and the way that he likes to play football.
He's one of those guys. He's going to die on the field before he comes off.
Right. And again, he's be a great fit for what they want to do there for the Chargers since they can't have a Marion Hampton. Now they got a guy who can create holes for Kamani Vidal or whoever else is carrying the football. The Poops, man, they took Matthew Golden, and that hasn't really worked out.
I can't say I didn't think it would.
It's just, again, he felt like yet another number 2 at best wide receiver on this team, right? Like we joked about them collecting those.
Let me say this, because it's so this was like the opposite of what I said with the Raiders.
Yeah.
Remember how I said G&T didn't make sense and now it makes sense? Well, with the Packers, when they took a wide receiver, I'm like, that makes no sense because they've got a whole room full of number 2 wide receivers. Right. And then here we are. Now they don't have 2 of said number 2 wide receivers. So it's a lot thinner.
They finally realized.
Now all of a sudden wide receiver does make sense, but it wasn't Golden.
No, it wasn't Golden. And there's a reason why. Yeah. Because we're moving a bear to a Packer, which for you is kind of like a poop to a poop. But for me, it's super terrible because now you're taking a guy who is going to be the number 2 wide receiver on that team at worst. And some people think he could be the number 1 guy, depending on how you feel about Rome Odunze. And we're shifting him over to the frickin' Packers. Luther Burden had a very good year. I'm not going to say he was transcendent, but he was very good. He was probably the second best wide receiver next to Tet coming out of the season when you look at it. And that was
I totally disagree with that.
Maybe Egbuka, you can put him on that list if you wanted to. Fair. I'll give you that. But other than third then. Second or third, depending on how you want to look at it. I don't think there's anybody else that really enters into that conversation. Yes, Jaden Higgins had a good year, but it's those three. And since the other two were already gone, Luther Burden was the best wide receiver left. So he goes to Green Bay, and like I texted you, why do we keep making Green Bay good? That's how you know
it didn't happen in real life.
We're slightly objective.
We're being empathetic.
Dude, we have given Green Bay some very good picks over the years. I just want people to know that as much as we don't like the poops, we are trying to be as objective and fair as we can be. We just get to laugh when they take a kicker.
You know what's crazy? I don't know if I just subliminally was like being lazy because they're technically my last two picks, other than Detroit us sharing the pick, because the rest is yours after this. But dude, Minnesota and the Giants back to back, the exact same picks that they did in real life. Donovan Jackson makes way too much sense for Minnesota. And he played well, deserving of it. Just left it there, right?
Sure.
And then the Giants are up, and we couldn't not give. So here's the thing. I left Jackson Dart in there. He was my QB1 in the class, right?
Right.
He's not elite or anything in my mind as a prospect, but I saw a very high ceiling, but I also saw a lot of risk with it. What's crazy is all of that is still true.
Exactly.
You saw a very high ceiling and a ton of risk. So it's a scary pick, but there was no way in hell I was doing it up at the top for any team.
Right.
But here we are. So Jackson Dart, still a Giant. Atlanta.
Yeah, and again, I just really quick want to say that was the one quarterback, by the way.
Yes. And I subbed a player in there just for the hell of it, but you can change it to whoever.
No, you're good. I think that's still kind of
This is where Josh Simmons originally was, and I skyrocketed him up the list because we double dipped on Cable.
Which is so funny. One of the guys that you would have thought we would have really paid attention to, given how much you and I weren't a huge fan of him, somehow snuck in twice. It's kind of funny.
But I want to say it's just because we were in disbelief that he went as high as he did. Like, he's got to be available. True. I'll pick him again.
Right? Also true. All right. So Atlanta, they took James Pierce Jr. In a vacuum, they would take him again. Right? He had the highest number of sacks. Yeah.
He would go in the top 10.
Well, look, you know what the funny thing is? I think that because I don't remember when all the shenanigans came out with him. If we would have done this, you focus on the whiskey. If we would have done this when everybody else did it, like maybe right around the Super Bowl or whatever, maybe James Pierce is still in this spot because all the craziness hadn't come out about him and his
no shot at being in this spot. No shot. Cincinnati would have taken him. Hell,
he would have been gone by now, is my point.
You could argue almost Atlanta would have taken him over Walker.
With the first pick, I mean? Yeah, I think there's definitely
San Fran could have taken him at 11 instead of Michael Williams. There's no shot he was if we didn't know what we know now. There's no shot he makes it to this pick.
No, and again, we talked about this last time. Because of the choices that he's still making, he needs to do better, right? And so we'll see if he does better going forward, but we're not going to take that risk on a guy that may or may not be available. Because again, if you're going to make mistakes, like we talked about last time with Rashee Rice hanging out in jail for a month, it's not that you had a mistake, it's that now we're concerned you're going to make another one. And these guys are it's too high risk to do that. So Josh Connerly, who you just had to find a way to shoehorn into the first round because you love that boy, had a rough first year, but is the next best lineman.
You don't have to. Yeah, I'm a huge fan, and I saw enough to still be encouraged, but it's your pick.
Here's why this needs to happen. It's because even though Josh Connerly had a bad round, not a bad first season, had struggles in his first year in Washington. You know who's playing right tackle for the Atlanta Falcons right now, according to the depth chart? It's Jawaan Taylor. And I have taken this as my little pet project. It's my public service for the NFL to get Jawaan Taylor out of a starting lineup. And I want to say this. I've never talked to Jawaan Taylor. He might be an awesome dude, right? But he just has not played tackle at a high enough level to continue to give him a starting job. I would rather take a shot with Connerly and do that and move on. Baltimore's up next. They can't take Starks. He's already gone. Really thought about taking Nick Scorton here as an edge rusher for them. He doesn't quite fit their physical profile, but Jihad Campbell had such a good year for Philadelphia, and he has some pass rushing chops in there. And Teddy Buchanan, who you liked coming out and I thought was all right, was injured last year, might still be an answer for them at linebacker, but Jihad Campbell is a plug-and-play guy for them, as Philly has been very appreciative of having him on their team. And, again, still gives you a chance to rush the passer a bit, so it kind of made sense to fit him there for Baltimore since they couldn't have Starks. And there wasn't quite, I'm not going to say this, there was one more safety we felt good about, but the fit just seemed like it was a little bit too good for them to grab Campbell right there.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, look, they're not taking time.
This was a struggle. This was a struggle.
It was difficult because, we're towards the end of the first round. The guys that you would want in certain positions aren't there. The guys that you might want to take a shot on, you're not sure about. But there was nobody on the defensive line that made sense to grab.
Right, and remember, edge rusher, just a reminder again, you couldn't. You could have, but you have Derek Moore because we did this super late, so you've got Moore and
so you
Hutch.
Need to grab. Yeah,
so edge rusher wasn't there. Right.
And so what did we do?
And you didn't need to go a tackle because you have Blake Miller now.
Exactly. So what did we do when we did our 2027 mock for the last show? We gave them a corner, so we kind of had to look in the backfield, man.
Yeah, and we flirted with the idea just because to hedge your bet in case Laporta's back isn't good and take a Harold Fannin Jr. We did flirt with that a little bit, but ultimately we went with a guy that we both were super high on, both had a true first round grade on, who didn't go in the first round because there was a bunch of fear that he wasn't going to be able to play due to some sort of injury. Well, he played. And sure, he had some brilliant moments. He had some rough moments. What rookie cornerback doesn't?
Ultimate mixed bag. Ultimate mixed bag. Gave up 4 touchdowns, gave up 60% completions, but then had 9 passes defensed. So I'm not sure if he was still getting his legs back or he just decided he's going to be this might be 1 year sample size. Don't know. Rough start. But again, he also had the most passes defensed of anybody in the league, and he didn't play a whole season. So that right there is a really good sign.
And he's the only one with the size and athleticism to be a true number one corner.
Right.
There were some other corners here that you could argue played better, like a Hairston or somebody, but they're not number one corners. Yeah, Parrish, they're not number one corners.
So you're taking the upside there with Johnson.
And also, to take that a step further, you're looking at Detroit. Looks like Terrion Arnold is a number one corner. Looks like he's maybe a number 2 at best. And it looks like we also have 3 nickel corners. So that's the only type of corner they need.
Right. Yeah, the only other option besides Fannin would have been looking at safety, like we talk about because of where you're at with Branch and Joseph. And Woodson was the guy that we talked about multiple times throughout all of this, and it just made sense for him to go somewhere. Washington can't have Connerly, ironically enough.
Because he just went. That's another guy I got you on. Craig.
Yeah, we did. We had 2 different options from the New England Patriots to be the choice here, whether it's Travion Henderson to help him out in the run/pass game or Woodson in the defensive backfield. And given
I was
where that
mainly
team
just
was
talking
at,
about a guy that I was super high on in comparison to where he was going.
Yeah, that one's gone. That one aged well. And
maybe
and he's the pick here.
Is safety my new top spot?
Well, again, I feel like you like safety and linebacker because safeties are small linebackers.
No.
So.
Not my favorite, just the one that I seem to be crushing. Think about all the safeties I would have put in Detroit that are all freaking good, and even the ones that go
Brian
on
Branch. Yeah, that's my point. I feel like because they're just small linebackers, you evaluate them pretty well. Except unless they are the traditional center field free safeties, then you think they're just useless. But that's a whole other story. Buffalo's up next. This is the last pick that dovetails with what they actually did. Hairston made sense for them. It still makes sense for them. You could have said maybe an edge rush or something like that would be about the only other choice that really makes sense with who's there talent-wise. But Hairston helped them out, and they had a need this season coming in for corner. So the fact that that's still kind of a situation for them, Hairston makes sense as the pick there. And he didn't have a bad season. He's still coming into his own. He does seem like he's profiling as a good number 2. We'll see if he can mature into a 1 as the season goes on. Philadelphia, they were taking one of the 2 guys. Either they were going to take Harrison if Buffalo went a different direction, or since Buffalo took him, it was between Philadelphia and Kansas City for these next 2 players. In my mind, one of them was going to take the other, one way or the other, right? And so Philadelphia end up going Scorton here because he did have 8 sacks. He does feel like he has some multiple.
I think Scorton was 100% the right pick because you also just drafted Stowers.
Right, exactly. And you also have Stowers on that team.
And our weird thing, they're on the roster. It's so weird.
Oh, right, exactly. And let's also not forget, as I texted you today, Noah Smith, I mean, hey, I'm not saying that he's not making some Georgia Bulldog-like decisions, but when you get pulled over for doing 130, that's just not a great life choice again. So now, thankfully enough, it was just speeding and not any accident or anything else that came with it. But judgment calls aren't going well for some of these guys in the NFL right now. And so bring in a guy like Nick Scorton to help out with that. Kansas City at the end, they don't get Simmons, but they do get Harold Fannin, who I was a huge fan of coming out last year. It was a great pickup. I mean, he basically let them move on from Njoku at tight end, who was a solid option for them coming into last season. Now it's Harold Fannin's game. And Kansas City, I'm not saying that they wouldn't re-sign Travis Kelce if Fannin was there, but they have options. He'd easily be the one to take over for him when he decides to ride off into the Taylor Swift sunset. But yeah, Harold Fannin Jr. would be a great pick for Kansas City at this point, as we once again help out a team. And not get me wrong, there's still other needs on that team, but that makes the most sense. So that being said, who are the guys we missed? And then we'll do the top 6-pack.
I made a huge list, but I'll just say like the three that stand out to me, and I'm skipping the quarterbacks. I'm sorry, I just was never
Ward and
high
Shuff,
on Ward or Shuck. And
he might be good this year. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, both could turn it around. We'll see. I just wasn't high on them as prospects. I didn't see. Maybe it's because I'm thinking about next year's QB class too, and that's why I'm like, no, I'll take any of those. But I don't know.
Fair.
So wrong or right, it is what it is. But the guys that stand out to me, the best player, hands down, that we didn't draft is easily James Pierce Jr. We already mentioned why.
Yeah, because of why.
But he's the best. So outside of him, the ones that stick out to me the most are Oronde Gadsden.
Sure. Great 5th-round pick for the Chargers.
Probably Upton Stout. I don't care what he grades out as.
Yeah, Parrish and Stout, both of those guys were fun little dudes.
And, and Henderson flashed at times too, Travion. Sure. But our whole list, unless you want to say a couple, and then we can just read it.
Look, I'll give you Higgins, because he had 50 catches. I didn't realize he had that good of a season when it comes to the way those numbers played out for them in Houston.
Yeah, we still had Jody Barron on the list. Ariante Ursary was a person that I like a lot still.
Still has potential for them in Houston, yeah.
I don't know. Some people would say Michael Williams still. I wouldn't. Judkins and Scadaboo both were fantastic pre-injury.
I love me some Scat Man. I'm just hoping he stays healthy. I want him to stay healthy this year. I really do. It's going to be interesting to see if it can happen.
Would say linebacker Knight. I really wouldn't. Parrish, we did mention. He was in consideration.
Right.
I wouldn't say Golden. I don't see it with him in top 32 either.
We'll see.
But the 2D linemen, Nolan and Harmon, just super small sample sizes, or they could have been
big
in there.
Big projection.
Yeah, man.
Nolan could have a with this year. Should be fun.
So the fun question is, here was the 6-pack that I had, my top 6 for this draft.
Roll back as well.
In order. Was Ashton Jeanty, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren, and Nick Amanawari. Now, I want to pat myself on the back a little because Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren, and Nick Amanawari are firmly in my top 6 still. I still would put Jeanty and Hunter in my top 6 based on the circumstances of, why they didn't just blow it out of the water as rookies. So I still stand by 5 of my top 6, which is crazy. But if we go back and we look at what we did, though, or like how everybody did, the only ones that I would try to squeeze into the top 6, it would be Tet and Ibuka for sure.
Sure.
Membu and Banks for sure. Those 4 could go in and kick 1 or 2 of them out, but that's probably where it ends. Is there anybody that I'm crazy missing? But it's the 2 tackles and 2 wide receivers that could compete for a top 6 spot.
Right. Well,
I don't see anyone else who could.
Yeah. And you got Amanawari in there, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was number 6 on my board for last year.
So, yeah, I mean, that pretty much covers it.
Remember Brad teasing me and everybody? Like, dude, your number 6 overall player didn't even get drafted. I'm like, that's because all 32 teams are stupid.
Mm-hmm. Needless to say, he did help out
One team is less stupid than the rest.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing, because again, when you don't go in the first round, it means every team, unless obviously a team didn't pick the first round, but every team passed on you. Every team thought that someone else was more valuable to them than Nick Manowari, and most of those teams would be picking him in this redraft. If you let everybody do this with their current rosters, like the way this bonkers way we just did it here, Manowari is a top 10.
We're never doing it
all
that
day
way
long.
again.
No, this was such a weird,
silly
experiment.
I think we should honestly shift towards just doing a new top 32 big board based on the rookie year. That's way cooler, and it's different than what everybody else does.
Yeah, we'll do that. I think we've got it slotted for just after the Super Bowl. So, come back in February, and you'll see what we think about the 2026
Well, and the
class.
cool thing about that is now we could move that anywhere. But you're not getting off the hook that quick. I want to know what your top 6 was.
The funny thing is, and I'm not saying this to try to get out of it. I cannot find that sheet because my spreadsheet game is not near as good as yours is. So,
Slacker.
Dude, I'm not kidding you. Like, I'm looking at this here thinking,
well, he's going to tell us in another episode. Next episode, he's going to tell us.
What kind of a mess did I have? And it is
That's what I wanted to know.
At best. I will. Well, you've reminded yourself that I suck at doing spreadsheets. And so, this is kind of where it's at for me right now. I will get that to you, though, so you will be able to make fun of me for some of the crazy picks that I had and the preferences that I had as we go forward. Now, it is Memorial Day weekend, so everybody go out and have fun, figure out what you're having for your cookouts. It'll be a great time. We, sir, are coming up on looking at some actual windows. We're doing a look back to 2023. Now we're doing 3-year windows. So this is when you can really evaluate a draft class going forward and how these guys are shifting.
Is that the next episode?
That's the next 4 episodes, sir. We are getting into it, looking at the projection of these guys, where we had them, where they've ended up now, and what they're going to look like going forward. All that is coming up in the next couple of weeks with Draft Class.